up? Yo, we're going to do a little tutorial to show you how to use some of these tools we got. Done this in the past. I've tried to explain them, but it never hurts to do it again. Show some new ideas, some new things going on. This is mostly for the pro members, but if it's on a Friday, you can type in Friday and get access to this free content Friday. So let's go to it. There's a few different, there's two resources that you should really be using. One's on the app right here, and one's a Google Sheet that I will draw your attention to. So this thing is the main place to go to if you're doing DFS or betting or whatever other little market games you might be doing on daily. So get the pro password, log in here, go to the pro tools right here. First thing, games and lineups, that's pretty clear. It's just kind of the game info and the lineups. They turn green once the lineup's confirmed. This game previews tab is something I have used myself. I haven't really used it in write-ups too much, a couple of times, but this was last year. I haven't really updated it too much this year, but it's pretty nice. Just kind of a one-stop shop to go look at a game. If you're looking at a particular game, you can go in here. You see the obvious information at the top. I'll just try to explain things that need explained. So we'll look at Reds Pirates tonight just as an example to really make things clear. So we got a button here for show bullpens. That'll pop up these two boxes here for you. This will rank today's available bullpen. All it does is filter out the guys that would be unavailable because of recent usage. It doesn't try to predict exactly who will pitch or anything super advanced, but if a guy's thrown 3 days in a row, if he threw 30 pitches yesterday or some number, I'll calculate it out. It'll take them out of the calculation, and then it just does a strict average calculation. So the Reds bullpen, in this case, good example, ranked 30 of 30 teams playing tonight. That's based mostly on xERA. I think it's strictly on xERA, which xERA is just expected WOBA going back to 2025. So it's not small sample problems. We are always trying to open things up for bigger samples. But xERA is basically expected WOBA allowed, which just gives you a nice one number to give an idea of how much damage the bullpen, the pitcher, whoever it may be, has given up. It gets trickier when you try to even out Ks, walks, home runs, whatever. But xERA gives you one number to kind of show. So there's your 30th ranked bullpen, the Reds tonight. So that would be obviously good for Pirates hitters. You got your pitcher stats, 2025 to 2026. Not extensive, but trying to keep things simple on here. You can show your lineup stats. This will take today's projected lineups until their actual lineups and summarize those 9 hitters for that. Just give you some numbers about pitcher matchups there. Down here, you got a bunch of drop downs. So you can filter based on team matchup. So this is anything with the word matchups, best matchups, team matchups. That's going to be the matchups model, which you should be familiar with, but I'll get to that next. This takes those pitch types the pitcher throws and looks at how each hitter has done against those pitch types based on movement. It's not just for Mitch Keller, right? It's not just looking at how the Reds do against right-handed four-seamer sinkers, cutters, changeups, whatever. It actually looks at his movement profile on it. So it's not comparing Mitch Keller's fastball to, Mason Miller's or anything like that. Like not all right-handed four-seam fastballs and all pitch types are created equal. So we try to narrow down on the types of movement, and not even just velo, right? It's the horizontal, vertical movement. It's not crazy. I didn't want to program it to where it's only looking at a few guys, because then you have small sample problems. So it's programmed in a way to kind of clump a good amount of guys for each and look at the most similar pitches and then see how they do. So you can see here the Pirates project pretty well in here against righties that throw pitches like Singer does movement-wise. They have a 381 team expected WOBA, pretty low, 9.7% swing and strike rate. Average slug, barrel, fly ball rate are there as well. We'll get more to that, but that'll tell you the team matchup. So just really quick, you can kind of see, all right, the Pirates are looking pretty good against Singer. The Reds not bad themselves at 9 out of 25. Now you might notice that the 25 is here. There's 30 teams playing today, as we saw with the show lineups, with the show bullpens ranks, right? Every bullpen had a rank. So why don't we see all 30 there? It's because there are some examples of pitchers who are newer that haven't thrown enough major league pitches yet to do this model, right? If I'm not looking at AAA data movement, I'm waiting for it to go in the majors. So if it's a debut or a guy in his like second, third MLB start, we're not even going to try because we just don't have the pitch movement data enough to really capitalize on it. So that is something to note, and we'll see that more. Best matchups, this is going to be something like the boom hitters. It's a little bit more lenient. It'll just look at the best individual hitters from that matchups model. If you go to matchups, you'll see all 9 for each team, and you can see how they individualize, if that's a word. So team matchup is just an average of the matchups, the all 9 guys here before. And this should be changing throughout the day as the lineups come out. It does take a long time to run, so I don't run it every time the projections run because it takes like 5 or 6 minutes. I just try to run this every couple hours. So if a lineup comes out at 5 o'clock and you look at this at 5:30, there's a decent chance you won't see this updated, and some of the guys that are newer in the lineup aren't there. So keep that in mind. But most of the time we're doing betting plays and stuff, it's in the mornings, and we're using projected lineups anyway, and that's good because that's what the sports books would be using too. Props here also, just the kind of the best graded props. I would not say, we'll get to more prop stuff, but I do not guarantee these to be plus EV. My model isn't a proven winner over time, just comparing my projections with the lines the books are putting out. But it gives you a good idea of, okay, my model thinks Singer's going to go for 5.5 strikeouts or more at a higher rate than this line on DraftKings would project. So there's a lot of different stuff in there. One more, projections versus average. We'll actually go over to the hitter projections tab for that. So we'll just go look at the hitter projections tab next. This is all self-explanatory. It's the projected DraftKings points, the value on their salary if they have one. Home run steals, I didn't lay out the whole projection here. If you want the whole projection, there's a link in the resource glossary to get the Excel sheet with all the detail on there. And you can use an import range in your own Excel sheet or whatever, like take that data. You can learn an import range pretty easily. You can port over the projections directly into your own Google sheet, and then you can manipulate it or build a tool on top of it, whatever you want, and it'll automatically, refresh live. So, but what I want to do here is look at, you can pull this down, what type to show, and do today versus season average. So now, since it's only still early May, until I think mid-May, this is going to look at the projections against their last, going the whole way back to 2025. So Mickey Moniak, for example, here today projects for 9.13 fantasy points. And that's all encompassing. It's not home runs or stolen bases isolated. It's just the whole projection using the DraftKings scoring projection as a model there, obviously. But it's not only for DraftKings, right? Like if the guy is projected here well above. So what you have here is Moniak's 9.13 projection today. Over the last 2 seasons, he's average is 6.9. So he's plus 2.2 today. 2 things to know here. The idea for this is to see how much better today's spot is rather than the average. Because this price, and DFS, at least for DFS purposes, this will be mostly set. It'll be anchored to the average. So if we get a spot where it's a lot better of a spot and the price might have come up a little bit, the Rockies in Cincinnati might project a little bit above average, although it's not a good example because their prices should go up at home. But take who's a good example? Like Jonah Heim, for example. Just a much better spot for him than usual against the lefty. He hits lefties pretty well. So his average projection 6.3, or today 6.7, average 5. He's plus 173. So these would be guys to not only target in DFS, but anything, hits, total bases, runs, scoring, whatever. They're just in a much better overall environment for today's matchup. And the key point would be that the prices, wherever you are, whatever you're being offered in props or underdog or DFS, whatever, like the price, not only the DraftKings price, but the line price itself will probably be pretty close to where it is on average. And this spot might be a much better average spot than the price would reflect. So just some guys to target there. You can flip it around, obviously do the other way. Juan Soto projecting much worse than average against this heavy sinker right-hander. Raggins against, J-Rod and stuff. So another thing to note on here is that a lot of this will just be based on not the matchup only, but they're just looking better overall. Like a year ago, we were projecting Mickey Moniak to be like a 30% K rate hitter, right? Because that's what we had seen in the previous few seasons as of last year. But as he's started to make a lot more contact and lower that strikeout rate, his strikeout rate's like 5, 6, 7 points down from where it was anchored at a year ago. Then his projections will just be better every day because we're projecting him as that better hitter now than we were a year ago. So that's something to consider too. But a good way to just see which guys might be a little bit underpriced or overpriced based on the matchup and their recent performance and stuff like that. Let's go now to matchups tab. So here's the matchups model. It's probably the most useful thing. There's a newish button here just to show the boom hitters. You can see today's. These will be the guys with expected WOBA above 375, I think. Not 350, I guess it would be. Yeah, what's the lowest? Yeah, 363. So I think it's expected WOBA in this matchups model. Again, looking at the opposing pitchers, pitch movements, and profiles like that. So expected WOBA over 350 again in that matchup. A swinging strike rate under 12%, which would be better than average, and a barrel rate above 14 or 14%. It looks like. So that's the three. High expected WOBA, better than average swinging strike rate, high barrel rate. So those are good for home runs and doubles, you could say, I guess. More home runs. Those are kind of the guys we're targeting for home runs. But it's not restricted to that because you can do things like this. I like to, always put a decent PC, meaning pitch count range. I want guys that have seen at least like 300 pitches like the ones they'll see tonight. I don't want small sample stuff. If you're just looking for maybe guys that are going to get some base hits, you can drop the swinging strike range down to sub 8%. That's really good. That is very rarely whiffing. This will give you guys that are in really good spots to put balls in play. Now, you can see, for example, Blake Perkins has just a 7.1% swinging strike rate, but it doesn't hit the ball well at all. So it's not a huge benefit. So I kind of tend to put the expected WOBA up to 330 or something like that. Get rid of some of those guys that make contact, but it's not good contact. And then you can even sort by hard hit rate. So Gunnar Henderson against Will Warren, good example here. Against righties like Warren, and we know that Warren struggles against lefties, even with some improvements he's made this year. Different pitcher, maybe it'll prove that he doesn't have that problem anymore. So far, he really hasn't. He's still striking out a bunch of lefties, but 5 starts in, I wouldn't count on that. So just for another example to make the point here, Will Warren against righties like Warren. Gunnar Henderson against righties like Warren. Last couple seasons, 190 balls in play, pretty big sample, 428 expected WOBA, 8.1% swinging strike rate, 15.3% barrel rate, and a 65% hard hit rate. So even if this barrel rate were lower, then that's a good barrel rate for him. But even if this were 9% or something, then maybe you wouldn't want to, you don't think his home run chances are great, but you think he's got a very, very good chance to hit a ball in play, multiple balls in play very hard or above 95 miles an hour at least, which can lead to hits. Total bases, whatever. If you're at the top of the lineup, if you're the leadoff guy and you're projected to get some hits, then you got a good chance of scoring a run, stuff. So you can just kind of logically go off of that. You can also use it to look at teams. So we'll show these team ranks. What this is, I need to not have it in the push over to the right column, but this takes all those averages like we already saw in that game previews tab, averages them out, and you can see which teams overall have the best matchups. This would be good for like team betting, maybe like overruns or fading pitchers or something like that. So the Cubs against, haven't looked at the slate too much, so I don't know offhand. So against Zach Gallen, right? You might think that, Zach Gallen's pretty bad. He's been a lot worse this year and last than before. Right. This makes sense because he's been bad, and the Cubs are a good offense, and they profile exceptionally well against righties like Gallen. So vote of confidence for them. I also like to just kind of flip it around. So Seattle here at 25th, they collectively have a very poor 270 expected WOBA, 13.6% swinging strike rate. I believe this rank column is going to be based on expected WOBA. Looks like that lines up. So expected WOBA for against whoever it is. Let's see. Against Cole Ragans, right? Like the Mariners have really not hit lefties like Cole Ragans well at all. So good spot for Ragans, bad spot for the Mariners, and you can go through that. Every available team, again, it requires the pitcher to have enough major league sample to do these calculations, but they're ranked 1 to 30 every day, updated live every time that model runs. Again, not live, not every time the projections run, but 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day at least. Okay, home run cheat sheet. Let's go here. What this does is there's an explanation here for you, but it basically looks at prices, what we think. It looks at the betting line. So Carlos Narvaez is green here. And this is what it does. It looks at the price. So plus 1040, the books think that's their price for a home run for Carlos Narvaez. My model says that price, based on his home run projection, should be about plus 780, and the bad X is in here as well, plus 950. So we're both thinking it's better. The chances of a home run are better than what the books are pricing you at. It's going to throw in the matchups model score too as well, looking at swinging strike rate and barrel rate, and it's going to grade that. So the score is the matchups model score based on swinging strike rate and barrel rate. If it's above average, it likes that. So it's a 0 to 1 scale. If it's above 0.5, it'll give you the green box there. And what the final recommendation is does this hitter have a better price from both projections? You can see the average price gap there, plus 172. So if this average price gap from the projection models think the home run is more likely than the books, plus the matchups model score being there as well, it'll say that's a recommended hitter. The tracker, this isn't exactly the tracker. I have a tracker on that to just look at this. It tracks these specific recommendations, and I could tell you what it has been so far. We've only been running this for 3 weeks, I think. Give me a second to home run tracker. I can't find it. It was, yeah, here we go. I'm not showing it, but so far we're at plus 53 units on that. So every day since 4/6, it's been looking at these recommendations and tracking them, and it's been a pretty big success. So it's 53 units. That's a ton. That is on a whole lot, 478 recommendations. So it's hard to get all of those, of course. But 53 units divided by, about 500 bets, it's 0.1 units per bet. So that's pretty good. It's been a success so far. I don't know if it'll keep up. You can never be sure. The prices get sharper and stuff, but it's a pretty intelligent, intuitive way to look at it. Like, do we have both projection models thinking that it's a bad price, and is the matchups model good? Uses that. So definitely would, if you're looking to bet some home runs for fun, like that'll get you maybe a little bit better of a bet recommendation. So that is that. What else do we have here? We have a prop bet sheets. This will just look at my projection model, the prices it would assign to the bet versus the books. And here, Geraldo Perdomo is the best bet today, over 0.5 home runs on Caesars for plus 2,000. So the fair price, we think, is like plus 1,500. So that's a 500 point gap there. So that green means good. And, most of these, since the home runs and stolen base prices are all like, 3, 4, 5, up to 10, 20 to 1, that just creates the opportunity for a lot bigger gaps. So most of the top guys you're going to see are going to be home runs and stolen bases. But you can go here and just get rid of those two markets, and you can see, like, okay, we think Jack Flaherty over 5.5 strikeouts. The price offered on FanDuel is plus 124. My price would be minus 250, which is a little bit insane. My model is still very high on Flaherty. It's not really adjusting, not really picking up how bad of a season he's had so far. So keep that stuff in mind. Like, the projection model will always look at the larger sample rather than the recent stuff. Maybe the books look at recent stuff more closely, more weighted than I do, than this model would. And maybe that's right. I don't know. Like, Flaherty's clearly busted. So I would never take any of these just on total faith, but it gives you something to look at, look into, just a starting point, if nothing else. So you can pick whatever market you want. Batter hits, just for example, we'll filter to that one. And then you can see, okay, let's get a pitcher outs. So just the batter hits model, we got Jake Rogers over 0.5 hits today. Price is plus 105. My model would say minus 114. So big gap there. The model would say Jake Rogers is mispriced in a decent bet. Let's do the other resource here for you. This one's available to all paid subscribers of any level. Chrome tab. Let me get this up. The cheat sheet. Good one here. This has been running since last year. I've added a lot of stuff to it. First tab, you can see boom hitters. Just want to see those guys that are in the mattress model best off for home runs. It's colored here. Like you see the 363 in red for Suzuki against Gallen. That's red, which makes you think it's bad, but it's just compared to the other numbers here. So 363 is very high. It's just the lowest on the list here. I put conditional formatting on that column rather than some predefined. Maybe the better way to do would be light green for 363 because it's still good, and then just some other thing for the higher up. But you get it. I think just by looking at that, you would have figured that out. These are all very good spots. Pitcher tab. This will give you, it's all, again, pretty self-explanatory, but we'll go through one row to show you. Cole Ragans against Seattle, left-handed pitcher, projected for 8.9 strikeouts, 2.6 walks. He's got 6 days of rest. His last pitch count was 99. Over the last 3 starts, he's averaged 96. This will show you the handedness breakdown of the opposing lineup. So 4 righties, 4 lefties in the Seattle projected lineup. That's obviously missing a guy. Must have a hitter not having a displayed batter handedness there. They should all add up to 9, obviously, but there's going to be, it looks like the only bug. So I picked a bad example, but probably just somebody in that Seattle lineup that it couldn't find their handedness, maybe a new hitter or something like that. But that should be cleaned up. A couple examples of that. I'll try to figure that out. So what you can see also here is overall columns L through Q is just their overall stats for the last 2 years. 87 innings for Ragans over the last 2 years, 35% K rate, 10% walk rate, 16.4% swinging strike rate, ball rate 36%, 293 expected WOBA. The average swinging strike rate in the league, just in case you didn't know, is 12%-ish. The average ball rate is right there around 36%. Expected WOBA will be around 320. What's nice about this is you can see right next to it the breakdowns of the pitcher splits. So this is Ragans has 64 innings pitched against righties over these last 2 seasons, and there's his numbers against them. Same thing for lefties. So kind of what a way to use this would be find a guy with big splits. I'm kind of leaving it to you to do the filters or searches or whatever. Don't have a great example here, but it looks like for JT Ginn, right? The Cleveland lineup is going to be overwhelmingly left-handed. It will take the switch hitters and put them on the opposite side. It'll do that correctly. So Jose Ramirez switch hitter, but we're calling him a lefty tonight because he'll be facing a righty. So does that right. So you can see again here, actually not a bad example, 5-point gap in his strikeout rates. Sorry, even more than that. A 10-point gap. He strikes out lefties just 19% of the time, righties 29% of the time. So bad spot for him, right? He's going to have to face a bunch of lefties, and he only strikes them out 19% of the time. So those are the kinds of things you can do just to see the handedness guys, because pitchers are very often totally different pitchers against lefties and righties, and it's useful. It shrinks the sample size, of course, to zoom in on only 2/3 or whatever, half-ish of the innings, but it gives you an idea. Okay, like Ragans, a lot better at striking out righties, at least recently, than lefties, but 23 left-handed batters faced in the last year or so. Small sample there. So keep all that stuff in mind, be smart about it, but that gives you some pitcher matchup data. Home run sheet, same thing we already showed. It's the same data as on that tab on the app. Stolen base cheat sheet. Wouldn't really recommend these because they've been losing a bit. I think we're down like a slight -4% ROI or something like that. But just in case you're into steals betting, it does the same thing as kind of what we were talking about with home runs. It looks at the projections, compares to the line. It also is going to throw in stolen base attempt rate data here and sprint speed data. So if you just really want a guy like Nasim Nunez here, the prices on these dudes will all be pretty low because all of this stuff points to them being high base stealers. But you can see, okay, Nunez got a 50% attempt rate. That's elite. He's very fast, one of the highest sprint speeds in the league. It breaks that down by 2025 and 2026. You can see a little bit changes there. Typically, you're going to be about the same, but like Ronnie Mauricio looks a little bit slower this year. So just giving you information to use with whatever you want to do. Hits plus runs plus RBIs. I can't calculate bet grades for this because RBIs, so the bet grading, if any statistical people are out there, it's using a Poisson distribution, which I don't fully understand. I can't like break down all of the math for you, but it only works grading wise when it's a stat that increases by 1 at a time. So home runs, you only get 1 of those at a time. You can't have 2 home runs in a single event. You can't have 2 steals in a single event. You can have 2 steals in an inning, but we're talking about they increment by 1. Now RBIs can increment by more than 1. You can swing the bat 1 time, get 2, 3, 4 RBIs. That just throws away the grading. It doesn't make the projection any worse or whatever. It just it makes it hard to compare. It makes it statistically wrong to compare my price with the book's price because you can get more than 1 at once. If you want more about that, look up Poisson distributions if you're interested in the statistical side of it. Basically, this just shows my projections. I've got 1.82 runs plus RBIs plus hits for Mason Wynn today. The under price is 0.5. Again, it really doesn't tell you anything about what props might be good or bad. It just shows you, here's what I project. Here's the betting line here. So I guess it works a little bit better for overs. My projection for Dansby Swanson tonight is 1.73. The line here would be you need more than 1.5, so that's a difference of 0.23. So I think he's better than the 1.5 line. That would only matter if this price, if this price were minus 200, it would be bad. But since we're at plus 135 here, we're getting more than 1-to-1 return on the money, and we think it's likely to hit, more than 50% likely to hit, then that would be a good one. But you have to kind of do your own calculations and stuff there. Hitter strikeouts. This will tell you the hitters with the worst matchups for striking out. So this is a good one. Again, it doesn't give you like a grade or a recommendation, or it's not highlighting guys that are plus EV bets or anything like that, but it'll give you information about hitter strikeouts, which I think is an exploitable market for now. So Cal Raleigh's the top guy. He's against Cole Ragans. High strikeout rate for Raleigh, high strikeout rate for Ragans. I project him for 1.79 strikeouts. The bat X at 1.43. This will look at the matchups model here and give you that swinging strike number from what we talked about earlier. So lots of swing and miss from Raleigh against lefties like Ragans. It gives you the sample size there just so you can throw out the super low sample sizes. The sample size is only based on G and H, right? So the matchup PC sample is how many pitches went into that matchup swinging strike rate calculation. And then it'll throw at you the price for over 0.5 strikeouts. It's mostly all on DraftKings. You don't get these lines all over the place, DraftKings and MGM. Again, you have to be very sensitive yourself. I'm not adjusting for that because over 0.5 strikeouts for Raleigh tonight against Ragans seems very, very likely to hit, but the books agree, minus 670. So there's no real reason to pull the trigger on that. Maybe there is, maybe that's still a bad price, but I'm not trying to calculate that. Also throws in here at the end the bullpen K rate. So if you just want, a pitcher these days throws a little bit more than half the innings in a game. And I guess probably once you throw in extra inning games, it probably is about 50-50 at this point. It's not the old days where the pitcher would go 7-8 innings. So you have to kind of keep in mind the bullpen, and this will help you do that. Like the James Woods up against the Brewers, their bullpen only has a 21.7% projected strikeout rate for tonight. Not projected strikeout rate, but the average of the guys available is low. Compare that to the Cleveland bullpen, 27%. So that would give Colby Thomas even like a much higher chance of striking out late in the game compared to James Wood, who will be facing some low strikeout pitchers most likely. So, handful of markets there covered, just good data to use. Again, not giving you a list of guaranteed winners or even plus EV over the long haul winners, but just data you can use to do your own thing. I know most of you betting guys have your own systems and stuff, just trying to help you get data to use that to be a little bit smarter about it or simplify things maybe. AI home run parlays. This is something I've kind of been messing around with, just kind of a lotto ticket thing. I haven't tracked this at all. Haven't really been using it myself, but I threw it in here. What it does is it looks at those projected home run totals and the implied prices from the projections, and it'll pick the ones that are pretty decent without going to the long shots, right? Like we're all under plus 500 here. We're not looking to build a parlay that has 3 plus 1,000 guys. Like even if it's a good price, it's just so unlikely to actually happen. So we're focusing in on the best prices based on the projections for the guys that are at least, you can see hitting a home run. So it's a lot of Junior Caminero, Raleigh, Judge, Schwarber, J-Ram, Murakami, Rooker, Shea Langoliers, Yandy Diaz, etc. in here. But it will look at all 3 projected scores, so like what the price should be, compare that with the books, do some AI some AI math stuff that I didn't even write, full disclosure, just to find some parlays to cook up. You want a chance at a big payout. Well, we like Caminero a bit at 371. We like Yandy at plus 539. We like Manzardo at plus 486. So you can put all those together, get yourself something like a plus 17,000 parlay. The EV 0.5, the average grade there 70. That's the average grade of these 3 hitters. So it grades them all, and that's going to be in this tab. But it's a lot of repeats and stuff. So it's kind of like, let's take a bunch of different shots at guys and combine them with different guys. So if you really like Caminero for a homer, here's some recommendations. Pair him with Yandy and Manzardo. Pair him with Yandy and Rooker. Pair him with Judge and Yandy. If one of those hits, if you take all 10 of these and one hits, like, you're in the money. And if you ever have a day where the projections really crush, like, you're in for a potentially like year-changing day there. So again, haven't been putting them all down. I've bet a couple of them. I've hit one out of maybe 30 or something like that. And I think that was when somebody was scratched. I think Ketel Marte was scratched and the other 2 guys homered. So the price came down, but it was a pretty nice payout too. So just something there for fun. If you want to do some home run parlays, this will be a little bit smarter using the projections rather than just taking like Ohtani at a bad price plus Judge at a bad price plus whoever else at a bad price. There's a lot of bad prices with the studs on the books, but Judge sneaks in here today. Doesn't think it's too bad. Plus 250 for him against whoever he's facing. Here's just the grades. It'll do the same thing. It's just those grades that were averaged here. So the best grades today, Junior Caminero, 26% home run probability in the model. And the fair odds based on that would be around 290, and you can get him for 370. So it likes that a bit. And again, this is all part of the AI home run parlays thing. Let's go through the rest of this real quick. Hitters versus similar. That's just a mattress model. We've already seen it. I should probably name it the same thing, I know, but it's a little bit more of a descriptive name, but just know hitters versus similar here means matchups model. You want to see the unavailable relievers. You got them here. Every team that I've deemed, the model has deemed not likely or really unlikely to pitch tonight based on how many pitches they've thrown recently. So Pirates, Isaac Matson, Johan Ramirez both threw quite a bit yesterday. I'm not likely to see them today. Lineups, here's lineup scores. If you just want to see, okay, Colin Rays against the Diamondbacks, how's their lineup look overall? Diamondbacks projected lineup has a 20% K rate, 7.1% barrel rate, 311 expected WOBA, pretty good. You can see Liberatore, very bad matchup there against the Dodgers. Makes sense, right? Herman Marquez, good matchup against the White Sox, who strike out a lot, low expected WOBA. Hitters, here's some hitter projection data and some stats, the same as the pitchers one. It's kind of buried over here, but you can see the split. Just their stats. Here's some projections for them. Ks, walks, home runs, total bases, projected balls in play. And then you can see their stats overall. So this has nothing to do with the pitcher they're facing. These are their overall stats for the last 2 seasons. And this will be the split. So this will look at the handedness of the pitcher they're facing. So for Geraldo Perdomo, Colin Rays, a righty. So this will look at those Arizona stats against righties from the last 2 years and give you some of that. So just kind of a one-stop shop to go do a bunch of different stuff and help you in whatever you're doing. And that's it. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions.